our good pal. You can call him Kaden's dad, Doug Waechter, on the program. Dougie Fresh, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm doing great. How are you? Everything good?
Everything's well, man. Just got off the horn with our good buddy Ian Beckles. He sends his best. Yeah, you guys have a good fourth?
Yeah, we did. Well, honestly, I was in the studio for the weekend,
Mhm.
so I was watching the Rays salvage one game out of
Right.
Minnesota, which luckily we did. Which they had us sweating the entire time, which a little unfortunate. Thought we were going to be able to handle our business in Minnesota and potentially sweep them, but we were lucky to come away with one win there. So I was in the studio all weekend. Kids, Kristen, everybody else had a great fourth, and I actually did get to sneak home early enough to off my backyard. I can see the fireworks from downtown, so I saw some fireworks too. But I
What's
kept
K-
all my fingers, so that's a
There
good
you
thing.
go. Yeah, you didn't pull the JPP, that's for sure. 7.5 fingers. I just read the story over the weekend. Holy smokes. What's Caden got rest for the rest of the summer? I know this is actually my last week doing the show for 3 weeks because I'm traveling to Alabama and North Carolina, and then I'm going to see the family. What's he got left on the docket this summer?
Nice. Yeah, he's kind of cranking it up right now. He's already been in, the summer ball swing of it. Has what, 3 or 4 tournaments already in. Now he's starting to get into the showcase realm
Yeah.
where it's a lot more probably MLB focused.
Mhm.
So he's in Arizona. He's flying out today to
Nice.
Arizona with Kristen. We got some good news. He got invited to the Team USA trials, which
Nice.
is huge. He's really wanted to do that. So it's wild. So they have a first round, right? And then if they make it through the first round, they get sent back to North Carolina, the Cary
Mhm.
complex. They go back for a second round of trials. And if they make it through the second round and they're selected to play for Team USA, which only I think 20, 25 kids get,
Mhm.
they're actually going to head to Japan and play in Japan. And so it's kind of a wild ride. So we got really good news that he was invited to it. That's all you can ask for. So he's excited about that. So he's got that coming up. He's got something called East Coast Pro coming up, which
Yeah.
is I'm sure you're well aware of it.
Mhm.
They essentially have it's really cool. It's scouts put on this showcase, and it's I don't know how many teams there are, maybe 6, 8, 10 teams, and it's all kind of MLB driven. So it's really the best of the best in the nation get to go out and meet up in Hoover, Alabama. They have like a weekend full of games, and they treat them like professional baseball players. They have a clubby, they have uniforms, they have all kinds of stuff. And as parents, we really don't see them throughout that weekend. So it's really cool. It's a cool experience. He got to do it last year, so he's going back to that. So he's got a packed in summer. So that's why I'm at work right now. You can see it right here. Somebody's got to pay me these bills when he's flying around.
Yeah, these travel costs, man, unbelievable. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm super excited to be able to watch him. For the high school season too, because it's just nothing like high school ball. It's
I
as
agree.
much as like we talk about the summers and stuff like that. To have these kids to be able to watch them play with their friends, and there's just so much different. And when you're at a place like Jesuit, and Miguel's a really dear friend of mine. I can't wait for the Jesuit senior year because man, to look at what he's done and Wilson and what's Samir, like he's
Yeah.
crushing it this summer. I mean, it's going to be tough for anybody to be able to topple Jesuit. And you guys always schedule. You have one of the best schedules in the entire country. You have to when you're a top 10 team in the nation. So I cannot wait for that. All right, let's get back to the Rays and what happened over the weekend. I mean, let's just start with the bullpen, Dougie. I mean, there's so much arm talent there. These guys, I think it's throughout baseball. You see guys say, this guy's coming out 98, 99, 100. But what is it about these guys? Because especially like Mason Montgomery, this guy's throwing 100. Uceda, who was so fantastic in 30 games last year. Kevin Kelly, Garrett Clevenger. I mean, there's the talent is there, but when you look at the stats over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I mean, the ERA and the whips, I mean, they're through the roof. And it's very uncharacteristic when you look at this bullpen that went from the second best bullpen, usually in the game when it comes to ERA and whip in 2023, seventh last year, and now 14th in whip, which is kind of uncharacteristic when it comes to the Rays. What have you seen? What hasn't worked for these guys? Because it's not just one guy having a bad day. It's like kind of a handful. They need to turn this around if they really want to, make a play as we get deeper and deeper into the season.
Yeah, I think it's fair to criticize at times, everything about baseball. That's what we're the best at, right? In the media and the fans. And you know, when you're in the major leagues, you're going to go through some ups and downs. You're going to have to deal with sometimes where you're not at your A game. And I think that's what we're seeing from the bullpen specifically. Everything's been clicking on, you know, all cylinders leading up until about a week ago, you know. And I think about that time frame, we're starting to see a few things that, you know, I would say, again, they're not peaking right now. And I think
Is
that's the
that
bullpen.
contagious,
So,
Doug? Is that like you think
I wouldn't say
it's hard
contagious.
because you understand what I'm
Not
saying,
like
right? Because
hitting.
because they say hitting's contagious, and I wonder sometimes if bullpens are like that because they're so tight knit, right?
Right.
It's
I don't
kind of hard to
think.
tell.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think it works that way, at least the
Mhm.
bullpens that I've been a part of, because everybody has their own role in the bullpen. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily
Right.
contagious in a negative way. I just think that honestly, you see a few guys kind of slumping at the similar time frame. I mean, look, Clevenger hasn't looked as sharp over the last couple
Right.
outings. Command has gotten away from him a little bit. The timing looks a little bit off his mechanics. You know, Mason Montgomery, unfortunately, is he suffered the long ball. His stuff is fantastic. Just hasn't been able to put together consecutive outings that you really be happy to see. You know, Kevin Kelly's stuff looks a little bit flatter than it's looked in the past. He's given up the long ball. It definitely hurt him in Minnesota. So
Mhm.
I think you're seeing guys, honestly, you know, you're getting to the middle of a season. This is about the time where workload can catch up to you a little bit, and it's nice timing. There's a reason there's an All-Star break right in the middle of this season, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look, it's very hard to stay at the peak of your game throughout an entire season without going through a little bit of a slump. And you know, I think that's what we're seeing from the bullpen. It doesn't mean that they're not going to come back and be very, very sharp in the second half.
Mhm.
I just think that you're starting to see a few guys that, you know, whether it's timing, whether it's mechanics, whatever it is, they're starting to feel a little bit of a lull. And I do think that All-Star break is perfect time for it to everybody kind of get out there, refresh after this week and hit the ground running in the second half. Because look, the bullpen's one of the biggest strengths of this team, and it has been for this
Yeah.
franchise for the last 5, 6 years, right? They wouldn't have gone to the playoffs, what, 5 years, five of the last 6 years without one of the best bullpens in the league. So they're going to have to find a way to get these numbers back down. And Kyle Snyder, you know, he's one of the best at doing that, right? He's going to identify issues with each guy. He's going to go over with them. He's going to be able to teach them, coach them back to where, you know, he can get them out and get them at the peak of their game.
In your experience, just because what I love about what you guys do over the years, right? Whether it was Fox or Bally or FanDuel, like you guys do a great job of not just diving into what the Rays do well, but what other teams do well too. When you have these player spotlights, and I want to ask you because you're so deep into the pitching. Is it like that with other teams? I feel like Kyle Snyder, and I don't mean to speak out of turn, but I feel like Kyle Snyder does such a great job of focusing on what pitches guys throw and just kind of stay with that, right? Who was it, Matt Whistler a couple years ago? And it was
Yeah.
just over and over and over and over. And it was just like, why mess around with anything else? This is the one that's, this is what you're getting people out with. Do people, are people or other pitching coaches as drastic from your perspective over the years of just eliminating kind of the outside noise when it comes to like, we'll try this. He adds pitches like in the middle of the season. Hey, try this. Hey, let's go a little bit more changeup heavy. Don't worry about that. Shane Baz talking about the kind of the adjustments that he's making, right? Not using the slider as much, going a little bit to the cutter. Does anybody really do that as well or as much as a guy like Kyle Snyder? Because I think sometimes you don't hear much from other pitching coaches, but Kyle Snyder, he isn't just there as a guy that's like a shoulder to lean on when you're not doing well. He really fine tunes. He's almost like I almost look at him like a carpenter, man, or
Yeah.
like a cake boss. Like this guy everything. He does such a great job. He's a rare bird, isn't he?
I think, yeah, personally, I think he's the best in the game. I've seen a lot of really good pitching coaches, and there are a lot of really good pitching coaches out there. But, you know, from what we've seen from Kyle, and it goes back to his track record, I would say over the last, you can almost say 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, what they do so well is they identify guys who fit into their mold that Kyle can do something small with, adjust a mechanical thing or, you know, tweak a pitch. And by doing so, he can get these guys and get them to an elite level. And so they have to have the stuff to be brought in to do that, right? So I think what the front office does so well is they recognize Kyle's strengths and they work together on who they want to identify to bring in and who they think they can, help out. And they've done such a good job of that. I think Kyle's strength as a pitching coach is, first of all, relating to these guys on a personal level. You get a lot of coaches that can't relate, can't really talk to these guys on their level. They just talk almost to them and not with them.
Right.
And I think Kyle just relates to them so well that these guys know that Kyle is looking out for their best interest. So they automatically trust him. So when he does bring up an idea to say, hey, look, let's scrap this pitch because if you do this in my algorithm, you are going to be an elite level pitcher. And these guys automatically say, okay, you know what? If you're telling me to do that, I'm going to do it. There's some hesitation with other coaches because they don't have that same track record. They don't have that same ability to relate to these kids. So I think Kyle relates to them on, a personal level. That's one thing he does extremely well. The second thing is, have you ever talked to this guy on like a personal level and you talk to him about pitching? He's like a mad scientist. It's unbelievable that he can talk to you on these intellectual levels about pitching that nobody else does, right? And he talks about physics when he talks about, teaching kids mechanics and teaching kids, different types of pitches and the axis of the spins. And he does a great job of teaching the guys but not overwhelming them.
Right.
And there's so much information out there that he could easily overwhelm anybody who he talks to because he understands it on a higher level, but he doesn't. He gives them the bare minimum of what they need to understand. And that's how they go out to the field and they go to the mound and they're not, burdened down by all this information to where they can't really pitch. They're just understanding what their game is and to keep it within, I guess those lines. If they do that, then they're going to be again one of the top pitchers in the league, and that's what he does so well. He is the best in my opinion, and we're lucky to have him, honestly.
Yeah, you don't want a paralysis from over analysis
Right.
kind of thing. And he's a guy. I mean, a couple of years ago it was opening day. Kluber wasn't starting opening day, but Ron and Ian and I were there, and we were just listening to Kyle Snyder speak to Corey Kluber, and we were just like little kids. They're like, it was amazing, just on a different level. But, you mentioned something really important that I think is important for humanity. Forget about sports. The ability to talk with somebody rather than talk at somebody. Everybody, there's so many people in this world now. It's we call it like one-up syndrome. You tell a story, you say something. Oh, yeah, well, I did this. I did. Oh, I went there, too, and I ordered this. And it's like, holy smokes, man. And I think as much as he does a great job talking, when I've been down by the bullpen, he does a great job of listening. What did you feel? And takes that information. He's able to kind of spin it in a different way. And my goodness, man, I think really that's kind of the secret to all successful people. But when you're dealing with so many different personalities, type A personalities for pitchers, I think it's so paramount to have a guy like that with Kyle Snyder. Did we lose you, Dougie? Somebody called him. Did we lose him? No, we lost him. I got a couple more minutes with Dougie. We'll get him back. This happens every once in a while. Somebody calls in. It hasn't happened in a while, right? I mean, we had that stretch for like a couple of days where every single time we had somebody on, somebody called them. It was like Gabby Shirley and Bobby G. Taylor and Brian Engblom. It was during hockey season. Don't worry, buddy. That happened. Did somebody call?
Yeah, my daughter tried to FaceTime me. Of course.
Okay. I was just saying, it hasn't happened in weeks. It happened like 3 days in a row during hockey season. It was like Gabby Shirley, Brian Engblom, Bobby the Chief Taylor, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, oh, it hasn't happened in a while. I haven't mentioned it, but I knew it. It was all good. Before we continue, I want to show you this picture because I use this for your Twitter. Do you remember this picture? This was a Google search for me. Tell us about this picture.
Yeah, I think that was from my first game. I believe that was from my first game ever at Tropicana Field. Yeah, and going out there, and it was when I threw the complete game shutout. So my first start at Tropicana Field, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was, I went against Seattle for the second time. So I had only pitched one time in the big leagues. It was in Seattle in relief, and I got the win. And was able to at that point I thought I was still in the bullpen. Piniella came up to me a day later. He's like, "Hey, we're going to start you the first game when we get back." And I was like, "Okay, fantastic, awesome." Went against Seattle again, and that was when Seattle was really, really good. They had Brett Boone, Ichiro, Edgar Martinez.
What year was that?
That was in '03.
Oh man.
And those guys were, they were making a run at the playoffs. So I got another crack at them. It was my mom's birthday. Ended up my first start in the big leagues through the complete game shutout. And yeah, I remember like it was yesterday, being able to walk around after that game. It was like it didn't even really occur to me what happened until honestly the next day when I got like maybe an hour of sleep. And I was like, man, I can't believe I just, threw a CG in the big leagues.
Well, who was like the first person to call you or text you or anything like that?
Well, I saw everybody. Well, that was like we had flip phones back then.
Yeah,
dude.
I was going to say
It wasn't like we have it now. So there was still, I think Blockbuster was still around when I was in the big leagues. So
right, hold on,
I remember. I will tell you.
Go ahead.
Right after the game, we all headed over to Ferg's, and I ran into every family member, all my buddies, and we shut down Ferg's, and it was a good time, man.
All right, so I'm gonna quiz you on that game. Who was your starting catcher in that game?
Toby Hall.
The great Toby Hall. I just spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. You 0 for 4 was Ichiro Suzuki in that game.
Yeah.
Who was the opposing starting pitcher in that game?
Freddie Garcia.
Oh, you're all
right, wasn't it?
You gave up 2 hits in that game to the shortstop and the catcher. Who were they?
Oh,
the catcher should be easy. He was there forever.
Oh, I don't know. Boy,
I'll give you the shortstop. Ray Sanchez. He was the guy that.
Yeah, I would have never gotten. Sanchez got me, really?
Ray Sanchez. And the catcher. You remember the catcher from the.
No, I don't. Who's the catcher?
Danny Wilson.
Danny Wilson. Yeah. Oh man. Those are the two. So with that lineup, those are the guys that gave up the
hits to the 8 and 9 hitters in that lineup. Ichiro, Randy Wynn, Edgar Martinez, Brett Boone, Carlos Guillen, Mike Cameron of the 4 home run, and John Mabry, who had some nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, all those studs, and Ray Sanchez, who literally was known only as a shortstop, could not hit.
I know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I do remember that though. That was an awesome night.
And then rest in peace, Julio Lugo was in that game. You had 3 hits from Carl Crawford and Aubrey Huff. I mean, it had to be nice to have those guys behind you. But 7-0, you beat the 81-57 Mariners on that day, and that victory for you, my friend, brought the Devil Rays record up to 54-83.
Oh yeah, yep. Those were the days. So when I talk about our bullpen struggling for like a 4 or 5 day period, I think I got to remind myself that I was on a team that we barely got to 50 wins.
You and Ian are the same way in that aspect of like, if anybody's like bitching and complaining about the Rays and the Bucks right now, you guys could both be like, hey, you know what we had to live through? I mean, my goodness, it's a completely different world. And now, I mean, I was so happy yesterday to see Brandon Lau get the call. You're like, oh, you're happy, but then you're like, oh, does this mean Aranda didn't get it? And then you're like, yes, Jonathan Aranda. I mean, the fact that the Rays were able to get 2 All-Stars, I mean, Dougie, it's well deserved for both of these guys.
Yep.
Sucks to see Brandon. Who knows how long he's going to be out dealing with that side discomfort, but I mean, it's hard to argue with Jonathan Aranda. He's been hitting over 300 pretty much all season long. Great to see both those guys get the nod.
Yeah, both of them well deserving. I mean, look, you look at the ranks and where they rank with the other, guys in their respective position. Brandon Lau is first in almost everything. When you're talking about power, average speed, average runners in scoring, everything, OPS. And then Aranda is the same thing. I mean, those 2 guys have been absolutely dominating. And, Aranda, awesome to see. So well deserving. This guy has put up some crazy numbers and been clutch throughout the entire first half. You're hoping that can sustain throughout the entire season. Those numbers are pretty incredible. The one guy I wish I would have seen in there also would be Junior Caminero.
Yeah.
More RBIs, more home run totals than any other third baseman in the league, and at least the AL. Unfortunately, did not make it in. I think he was deserving of it. I thought we should have had 3. But hopefully by next year, the league will see that and understand what kind of talent this guy is. And he's having the same year, hopefully next year, and he'll be in it because he deserves it as well.
Yeah, before